All right, everybody. Thank you for jumping on with us for our Training Day podcast. I got the stud, my man, Senior Vice President from Family First Life Legacy Life Group, Shawn Barnes, who's just cold crushing it. And I'm excited about all the things you got going on, my man. You know, you've always been an amazing trainer, someone who's acclimated to the business, who's looked yourself in the mirror and has made real changes to things that you needed to do to get better for you. When you started team building, things you need to do better, things you needed to do to get better for your team. And that's very honorable. You know, you guys finished the month of March, which is a 5-week month, helping 308 families, came back in April and helped 313 families. So you basically have, you know, collapsed. That's called momentum, by the way, for those who are confused. If you do, I think it was actually the other way around, 313 in March, 308 in April. But if you do that much in a 5-week month and come back and do the same amount in a 4-week month, that means you grew by 20%. That's a lot of momentum in your direction. There's things you had to do, Shawn, to get to that momentum. Is that your biggest 4-week month?
That is by far our biggest 4-week month.
That's amazing. So there's things you've been putting in play to get a momentum where you can grow 20% month over month. It's not easy to do, but when you're doing it, it does move. So talk to us a little bit about some of the things you've done coming into this year to start getting the traction that you knew you could have.
Yeah, well, Mark, first of all, I want to say I appreciate you having me on, man. It's always an honor to be able to pour into our company, pour into the team, and any way I can help, man, I'm really humbled to be able to do that. But first of all, I mean, I kind of got to go back maybe about 6 months.
Okay.
So 6 months, landscape kind of changed, you know, from recruiting and building and things like that. And we really went backwards for a little while, just trying to reassess how are we going to grow this thing in this new landscape. And we were kind of lost for a good 2 to 3 months. In the middle of that, I started to realize, like, I have some strengths and I also have some weaknesses. And instead of trying to fight and get better at the weaknesses, I realized I need to focus on my strengths, but then let someone else compensate for those weaknesses. And that's when my business partner, Richie Crahall, and I really started hashing out, okay, how can we both contribute to our agency and grow this thing together and accentuate both of our strengths? And once I kind of humbled myself and allowed that change to take place, dude, it just changed. It changed the whole ball game for us.
Wow. First off, that's good humility, and that's some humble pie you had to deal with. Obviously, it was a struggle, and then how'd you face yourself when you realized I have strengths, I also have weaknesses. The weaknesses are hurting us. If I double down on these strengths, it'll help us, and if I relinquish some of these things I'm weak at, will multiply.
Yeah, good question. I think just looking at the numbers, you know, kind of not seeing any noticeable growth for a good long period of time, and then seeing kind of, in a sense, just agents coming in and coming out. And I was just assessing, okay, how much of that is my fault and how much of that is industry standard? And I started to realize, okay, I can't do anything about what's normal, but anything that I'm accountable to, I need to be accountable to those. So it was just, okay, do I want to just be the only face of my agency and us never grow, we never make more money, we never move anywhere? Or do I humble myself and allow someone else to come in and share in what we have, but then we skyrocket? And it took me a long time to come to that realization, but once I came to it, it was super simple. It just made complete sense.
I love it. That's huge. That's so huge. Many people are going to be faced with that or have dealt with that, or going to deal with that. Where were you weak at that was hurting?
Yeah, great. I tend to forget about people, not intentionally. You know, I serve in ministry, I run our business, and then I juggle family. And so the day-to-day of, like, chasing and remembering to call an agent who hasn't called me. Um, and and to be honest, if I'm really transparent, the patience level I have to
Hmm.
like tell an agent to do something 10 different ways,
Hmm.
I don't have that. So
Yes.
where I tend to be good at is like, okay, if an agent calls me from any agency and they're like, "Hey man, can you help me?" I'm like, "Cool. I want to see the last 12 weeks of your weekly numbers."
Mm,
And I can diagnose that agent in like 2 minutes.
right.
Whereas Richie is really, really good at like, all right, cool, let's role play, give me your script.
Mm,
Like, and that's where Gabe is really good at. And
right.
that's what made our team grow is he
Mm,
would call us and he would tell us the same thing 10 different ways until it clicked.
mm.
I tried that. That's just not where I was strong at. So what I realized, if I can bring kind of the numbers game, the operational standpoint to our
Nice.
team and let him be kind of like the compassionate one in a
Mm,
way,
yeah.
that the role playing and dude, it just brought a lot of synergy. And a lot of that came from him kind of being proactive too. Like, hey man, I know I'm not receiving an override off of agents that aren't direct to me, but
Mm.
I want to see our team win. How can I help?
Wow.
And through those conversations, man, it really helped a lot.
That's so good, man. Um, that's huge. That's huge. That's so huge. That literally is bringing you to where you are today. Is that a fair statement?
100%. Yeah.
Because you've been selling at a high level since you got serious, and
Hmm.
Richie sells at a high level. Um, both you understand this business. I think you're saying, hey, look, I'm more operational numbers, analytical, and this guy's more of a trainer, more compassionate, more willing to, have the patience. Okay,
Yeah.
great. All right, so you work together, and when did that really start?
I think I noticed it probably towards the beginning of this year when he really started to bring some heat on with warm market and things like that. Um, and then we started really talking and working together from a marketing standpoint, and we started talking more about the business side of things. And Richie was the first person I ever brought on
Mm,
once I started recruiting.
mm,
And once he obviously hit Hall of Fame last year, and through that seriousness, I guess you could say, started to really realize like, man, we're both in this for the long game,
mm,
and how can we actually grow? And that brought a lot of accountability to me because I needed to make sure, hey man, I can't slow down because I have this guy who's chomping at the bit and
mm.
I don't want to let him down. So
That's
through
great.
that, a lot of conversations until we got clarity on how we're going to move forward as a team.
That's huge, man. I mean, again, it's two things. He's chasing me down, and
Yeah.
he's my boy. I don't want to let him down.
Yeah.
That's a lot, and a lot of good stuff there. Now, when you think about like these changes, again, now you have
Hmm.
momentum. So we went from 6 months ago, lack of growth, stagnant, if you will. You made changes. This is what I think. This is where the rub is. Like people need to understand. Like if it's not working, make changes. So you searched your soul, you searched your mind, you searched your heart, and said, all right, these are the things I need to change. That turned into momentum.
Hmm.
So watching that, now you guys are doing all telesales, right?
We're hybrid.
Hybrid.
We're
Talk to
half
me
and
a
half.
little bit
Yep.
about your structure, and then what do you what does onboarding look like
Hmm.
at Legacy Life Group?
Yeah. So one of the biggest operational moves that I made personally was in February. I hired a new admin slash agent success coach.
Got it.
So she works directly out of my office. She's here now. She took over all of the onboarding stuff, which really was a game changer for us. We had someone doing that, but they were in a sense virtual. They weren't in my office. So again, that brought accountability to me to have someone working in my office.
Hmm.
So we did that. She took over that for our whole team. That allowed us to just focus on the training aspect and not necessarily like, where are you going to get this paperwork? What papers do you need to sign? And she does all of that. So that allows us the free time to really focus on what we enjoy doing, but also B, what we're good at. And so whether that's marketing, whether that's getting on a call with an agent, okay, let's work through your numbers and see maybe some lead diversity, things like that. You only got so much time and so much mental energy you can put into this. And there comes a point in business that I've learned some of that you have to hire out.
No doubt.
That way it keeps you most efficient at
That's
at the
huge.
things you should be doing, which is making money or helping other people make money.
Right. How many staff do you have? Is it the one girl?
We have 3 collectively between him and I. We have 3. We have one girl who does all of our marketing,
Yeah.
and then I have a admin / agent success coach, and then he just hired a personal admin as well.
Now, how does it feel? I mean, obviously, when you hire someone, you have to train them. So let's talk about that. But then I want to also talk about the byproduct of training them and having someone with you that is now another 40 hours that you just can't. You can't just keep manufacturing 40 hours by yourself.
Yeah.
You have to,
Yeah.
you could work 80. 120 is we're starting to get a bit much, So if you're working whatever, you add another 40 hours. That increases. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about bringing someone in to the fold. Before we do that, how do you identify what it is you're looking for?
In an employee?
Yeah. Yes.
100% a positive attitude. Like, dude, I kid you not, I do not do well with complaining on any level. Like with my kids, my wife, I have to be a little bit more compassionate about if she's having a rough day. But like, I just, dude, it just goes over my head. I just can't do it. And so she's never complained about one single thing ever. And 2, right out of the gate, she showed a willingness to help the team. Now, it did help. She had experience at the position in a different insurance model, but nonetheless, she came in and was like, how do I help you guys grow? She fell in love with helping our agents, took everything on a personal level to really help them succeed. And it crushed her when an agent didn't want to succeed. And I had to help her work through that to identify the type of agent we're looking for. But she just fell in love with helping our team from the first conversation. I don't know if everyone is that spoiled, but that helped us a lot. And it just having her do things that A, I just don't want to do, or B, I'm not good at. I'm not necessarily an organized person.
Right.
So having her come in and be in that, I got 40 hours of extra organization added to my life is a game changer. Absolute game changer.
I always say I'm organized in my mind, but not when it comes down to my desk. So I understand, brother.
Yeah. Between her and a whiteboard, I learned that from John Wetmore. I whiteboard everything. I got ideas, I just put them on a whiteboard and let it stew for a bit.
Love it. Now, you bring someone in, you got to train them. What does that look like? When it comes to you maintaining your schedule, personal production, helping agents, and now training someone new, how do you clear the deck, and what kind of expectation do you generally have for runway for this new person that's trying to get acclimated to your system?
Yeah, well, I'll say the 2 people I'm looking to work with that I find are worth my investment are someone who is they're in survival mode. They're broke. They have a very, very strong North Star, and it could be anything from like, I need to get out of debt. I need to pay my bills. Like, I hate my job. I need something better. I need to feed my kids. That person, or on the opposite side, someone who is already doing well, but they're looking for significance. So survival or significance, those extremes.
We're getting it.
What I have found is the people in the middle that have been comfortable for a long time do not survive here.
Wow.
Because you cannot come into insurance and stay comfortable. You can't. It's real easy to go back to an $80, $90, $100,000 salary. And it's just there. You don't got to work too hard for it. Either side of that are the people who I'm looking for. So what I tend to do, I'm really relatable to the people who are coming from that survival mode, because that's how I came into the business.
No doubt.
On the significant side, I point them to people who are doing really well, and I just feed the beast. Like, I give them everything they need to be successful, and I let them run. I don't micromanage them. So More on the lower end of that extreme, I share a lot of personal stories. What I've gotten better at is getting to know them, know their family, like what was their life like, what was their background, really connecting with them, and then making sure, dude, you got to be on training. If an agent calls me and they're like, I'm having this problem, I'll typically ask them a question I already know the answer to. And
Mm-hmm.
it's usually like, hey, so and so, like, were you on last week's training? No. Okay, so you're dialing these leads. I haven't seen you on live dials. We're on there every single day. At least someone is. Have you been on there?
Mm-hmm.
If excuses follow, I'm really not looking to work with that person, like pretty much from that day on, unless they change their behavior.
Right.
If they're like, I didn't know, then that's my fault. I
Mm-hmm.
got to take accountability that. Then we work with our staff. Okay, how do we communicate better?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot, we get on calls, we'll role play with them. We try to make sure if an agent is really looking to be successful, we need to hear you dial and you need to be plugged into the team. Doing this business solo, literally on an island, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Mm.
And a very select few people will make it. So really plugging into the team, doing some role playing and individual training is huge for us.
That's huge, man. When you think about, again, these this this seed that you're planting, these investments that you're making, and we know every crop's not growing out of the ground, and even the ones that aren't growing at the same pace or the same level. But we know if we don't sow seeds, if we don't invest into people, there's no business.
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing that at a high level. Now, when you bring Richie in, right, and he's probably helping to lead some of these platforms, live dial, some of these things as well. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what does that look like from his standpoint? Because you're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with, you know, survival or significance. Does he play in the middle, or is he dealing with the same?
Yeah, great question. So Richie's baby was live dials. Like when we really talked about when live dials as a in the company was taken off, that was kind of his baby way before we ever decided to run our teams together or anything like that. So he's always managed that. I'm kind of in and out throughout the day, and I'll get on calls with agents separately and things like that. But he's the one a lot of times that's, noticing, hey, this, I know how to help this agent. He's really struggling with his confidence, or, she's way too nice on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Having that ammo allows me when I get on a call with an agent to go, okay, hey, based on what I see and based on what we've seen as a team, this is where I know we can help you at. Let's work through that. And at that point, I'm a little bit, when someone is actually taking my advice and running with it, I'm willing to say the same thing multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
It's when the agent goes, hey, I'm struggling with this, can you help me? And I go, yes, here's what you need to do. Like, I've gone through this, go do this. And then they follow up with but XYZ, and there's always other reasons why that won't work. Well, I don't know what else to tell you. I gave you the answer. There's nothing else I can say to you besides just go do it. And that has helped a lot by kind of weeding those agents out. You can't fight the numbers. They're always going to be the same, but I feel like we've gotten better at identifying who we need to just let go and who is worth investing in.
Nice. Now, Legacy Life Group. It's a name change for y'all. You
Yes,
know,
sir.
there's a lot that goes into a name, especially a name change.
Yeah.
If anyone's filing for new names, there's a lot more going into it than what they were birthed with. So
Yeah.
talk to me, talk to us. Where you coming from, and why Legacy Life Group?
Yeah. So I think the name change kind of capped off the momentum we've gathered. So when I started FFL Ascent, which was our prior name, that didn't really come with any sentimental or North Star. It was essentially almost like a if you know you know type of name, because I live by Kennedy Space Center, and so it kind of made sense, but it had no meaning or depth behind it. And so literally outside of the logo for 2 years, I slept on, okay, how do I like attach this to any sort of depth? And it never came. And just throughout some praying and meditation and really deep diving into what do I want to accomplish with my life,
Mm-hmm.
I came across the word legacy. And this thought kind of hit me is how I'm known today is very temporary. It's very, very temporary. That could change. My reputation could change overnight.
Mm-hmm.
The moment I leave this earth, that's permanent.
Wow.
My legacy is what I'm going to leave behind. What I leave my wife, how I take care of my kids for, if they have 30, 40 years on this earth without me, how am I going to take care of them when I'm gone?
Mm.
That's my legacy. And so that kind of like woke me up in a sense and gave new meaning to what I'm doing in the business. And in a sense, attaching that to what I do in ministry. Like when I leave this earth, how many people can I affect? How many agents can I help move from the situation they're in to a better situation? How many agents can I give purpose to when they don't have it? That's my legacy.
Mm.
And dude, it just made sense. And so I kind of coined this phrase. I wake up every single day chasing my legacy,
Wow.
chasing how I'm going to be remembered. And that, dude, it just gives me goosebumps saying it right now.
Yeah, that was definitely a moment for me as well. Just hearing that. That's so, as you said, significant. It's not. Yeah, it's not. That's serious. That's temporal. I mean that's permanent. So it's that's serious, bro. That's a serious statement. I wake up every morning chasing my. I never heard that. I'm like, I'm trying to internalize that. I'm like, whoa. Yeah. How did you even get to that place? I wake up every day chasing my legacy. How'd you get there? Because that sounds like a whole nother step.
Yeah. Well, I think just kind of connecting why I wake up. Like I needed a North Star. Obviously, serving the Lord is a North Star.
Mm.
Obviously, making money is a North Star. But like on a deeper level, what is that all like? What does that mean?
Mm.
And if I take myself out of the equation, what does me chasing being a godly father or a godly husband or just a man of a God-fearing person individually, what does that mean for everyone else?
Mm.
Like how does that affect everyone else? Yes, reading my Bible, praying every day, like that's going to benefit me, but how does living a godly life benefit everyone else?
Wow.
And how does selling insurance and running our insurance agency benefit other people besides myself? And a legacy in my mind, I realized is not something like when I'm dead and gone, I don't benefit anything anymore.
Right.
It's not about me.
Right.
People are going to come to my funeral and then they're going to forget about me like 2 days later.
Hmm.
But if I can leave something so impactful when I leave this earth, well, one, I'll never be forgotten. So that's a selfish reason. But two, it's just a way for me to benefit and help so many people when I'm not even here anymore. And it was just a lot of sleeping and thinking on that thought. And when I hit that phrase, chase your legacy, man, it just gave me goosebumps and it like got me out of bed with a whole new different type of energy.
That's different. When you start putting, your life into that perspective, that's so different. You just said so much that's so different that it's I know without a shadow of a doubt, and I didn't know before this podcast because I'm getting up to speed as we're talking, but I know without a shadow of doubt this thing's taking off. Like there's no way you're not going to impact the multitudes because it takes time sometimes, to figure out what you just said. Actually, some people never get to what you just said. You know what I mean? Like, but it takes time to understand what you're doing every day and the impact it can have for other people, not just you. Because a lot of times we're all taught, rightfully so, to put the oxygen mask on first. And everybody takes a different time to put on their oxygen mask, right? Some people can put it on in 3 months. Some people can put it on in 12. Some people put it on in 18. Just depends. So what looks like stagnancy or whatever, or slow speed, is just somebody's time, right? And your time has gotten you to here, which is like, all right, what am I every day, how am I leaving a legacy? How am I
Yeah.
impacting people that are brought into my ecosphere? What am I exempling? What am I modeling? And how is it benefiting people? That's a lot. That's a wrap. Cut. I mean,
Yeah.
like that's a wrap. That's where everything happens. So, listen, man, I appreciate you, man. This is really good stuff. If a new agent was listening to this, Shawn, what would you want to tell them?
Don't quit. Just absolutely don't quit. Everything you're going to go through as a new agent, someone else has gone through it, gotten through it, and come out on top. Don't quit.
That's huge, man. Well, thank you so much for jumping on with me for our Training Day podcast. This joint was fire. So I'm excited. My man, Shawn Barnes, Legacy Life Group, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
God bless y'all. Keep listening. Appreciate you. Love you. Thank you, Shawn.
Take care.